Alright, good evening Year 10. I'm just going to do a brief video going through the practice paper that you guys have already been given. Just wanted to make this video just for some students who might still be struggling with the concept of two-way tables and Venn diagrams. So, I'm going to jump to question 2 because we've already spoken about question 1 and you guys seemed really confident about that. So question 2. So all these criteria is based on these three up here. So it says the total number of students surveyed must be between 100 and 180. Yeah, so we can choose any number between 100 and 180. In class, I use the example of 100, so I'm just going to use 120 now. Next criteria, total of number of students who had both Netflix and Foxtel. So criteria 2 says 20% of those surveyed reported to have both Netflix and Foxtel. And since we surveyed 120 people, we have to do 20% of that, so we just do 20 over 100 times 120. Let's get out your calculator, press the fraction button. 24. Okay. Next part. What number of students with Foxtel did you choose? Okay, so this part here, we can choose any number that we want. And obviously there will be numbers that will work and numbers that won't. So hypothetically, I can choose for this, let's say I'll choose 70. Okay. Criteria 3 is split up into two sections. So what number of students with Foxtel did you choose? 70. And criteria 3 says 10% more students reported to have Netflix than Foxtel. So some of you struggled with this sentence, and you can really just rearrange the sentence around and say Netflix has 10% more students than Foxtel. So Netflix has 10% more than Foxtel. So what we're going to have to do now, we're going to have to find 10% of 70. So 10 out of 100 times 70. Yeah, so this is 10% of 70. Now we need to add that 10% on top of that 70, because it says here Netflix has 10% more, and the word more means plus. So now I'm going to do 70 plus 7, and that gives us 77. Cool. So now that we've done all these, we answered all these criteria, we can jump straight to the two-way table. And a lot of students in class were talking about, sir, these numbers don't add up when you add them up. They don't add up to 120. So you don't need to worry about that with this criteria, because in the table, when you insert the numbers in, that's when you have to worry about everything adding up. So at the moment, like I'll show you now, if you do 70 plus 77 plus 24, as a lot of kids were doing, you get 171. That's not that. That's because you're not supposed to add all these numbers up. I'm going to let the table do that. So the first part, total number of students surveyed, 120. I'm going to write that in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, so that's the total of everyone being surveyed. The next part, total number of students who had Netflix and Foxtel. So I look for Netflix and then I look for Foxtel, which is here, and then it'll be that cell here. I write 24. Okay. Then next part, I'm going to write what number of students with Foxtel did you choose? So this 70 number, I've seen a lot of students put the 70 number here. Okay, so that would only work if it said what number of students watched or had Foxtel only. Then I will put the number here. but there's no, the word only isn't here, so we can assume, or we know in fact, that the number 70 is for the total of all the Foxtel students. So the total of all the Foxtel students, you just look for the Foxtel row, you go all the way to the end where it says total, and you write 70. Okay, so once again, this 70 doesn't go here because it doesn't say Foxtel only. If it was Foxtel only, then you'd write it here. The next part of information is the total number of students with Netflix. And once again, it doesn't say Netflix only. So these 77 students, we can assume that these 77 students are the kids that have Netflix. Okay, so regardless of whether they have both Netflix and Foxtel or just Netflix, we know the total is 77. And once again, I did see a lot of students putting this number they got from this criteria 3 part, they left it in this cell over here. Okay, so now that we've got pretty much our tables almost half filled, we can pretty much fill in the rest. And as I told you guys in class, all the rows and columns you can add them to reach the total. So here, 24 plus something equals 70. Yeah, so now we can just do 70, take away 24. And that gives us 46. Okay, and there's no particular order that you have to do this in. I just really fill out all the cells. Now here, 70 plus something equals 120. So, don't need a calculator for that. It's just 50. And you can think about it logically here. If 120 kids were surveyed altogether, and 70 of them have Foxtel, 50 don't have Foxtel. Okay, so that's just a simple subtraction. 120 take away 70 is 50. If 70 people have Foxtel, 50 people don't have Foxtel. That's because that's just the total of all the kids that were surveyed in a simple subtraction. And now I'm going to do the kids here. I'm going to work out how many kids have Netflix but not Foxtel. So I'm going to do 77, take away 24, and that's 53. Okay, now I'm going to do the people who don't have Netflix. So just the total for that. So just 120 take away 77, 43. And we've reached a problem because this column here, or this row, whichever one you want to look at, let's look at this column. 46 plus something equals 43. And that's physically impossible. Okay, so the only number that would work would be -3. Because then you'd have 46 plus -3, you'd get 43. But you can't have -3 students. We spoke about that in the constraints for question 1. It's not going to work. Same as if you went across this row. 53 plus something equals 50. And that's impossible unless you're working with negative numbers. 53 plus -3 will give you 50. But once again, we can't use negative numbers. So this might happen in the exam, and that's totally fine. All you have to do, you just start again. It's kind of why I used the pencil and I printed multiple of these sheets. We're gonna start again. We're gonna use the same thing. So we're gonna use 120. We found 20% of it, which was 24. Same working out. My suspicion is that I chose this number here wrong. Yeah, I chose an incorrect number here. 70. So I'm gonna perhaps choose maybe another number. So I'm gonna say something nice and round, 50. Okay, so now that I've chosen 50, I have to do 10% of that. So 10 over 100 times 50. Put that in your calculator, you'll get 5. Then you just do 50 plus 5, because this is the 10% that you're adding, it's 10% more. So more. So you get 55. And we're going to test to see how these numbers work out. So 120 will go here. 24 goes here. 50 is the number of students that chose Foxtel. So you look for Foxtel, go all the way to the total, 50. And then the kids that just have Netflix, so look for Netflix, and go all the way down, 55. Cool. Now let's give it another go. So 50 plus something equals 120. 70. So hopefully this works. 55 plus something equals 120. It should be 65. Yeah, 65. Now I'm just going to choose this one, Netflix. No Netflix. So the students who watch to have Foxtel but not Netflix. Yeah, we know the total is 50, so we just do 50, subtract 24, give you 26. Then I'm gonna do this one here, the Netflix. So kids who have Netflix but don't have Foxtel. 55 take away 24. 31. So I'm just gonna go here. And then the last one, the students who don't have Netflix or Foxtel, so they have neither. So then just 70, because that's the total for that row. Take away 31. 39. You're also welcome to use this column as well. You can do 65, take away 26. You should get the same answer, which is 39. And what I like to do with my two-way table when I finish it is I like to add the totals to see if I get 120. So pretty much just double checking that I've done everything right. 55 plus 65, that's 120, and 50 plus 70, 120. So I know I've done that correctly. Okay, now it's time to draw the Venn diagram. So I'm going to label my Venn diagram. So this circle here will be Netflix. This circle here will be Foxtel. So the first thing I like to do is I use fill in the comment section, the intersection over here, where the Netflix and Foxtel circle overlap. And we know for the overlap, there's 24 students who watch Netflix and Foxtel. And I can just write it here. Okay, and then really it doesn't matter which one you do next. I just want to do the kids who just watch Netflix. So I'm going to cover this section here. I just want the kids who watch Netflix only. So I want the kids to watch Netflix only. That doesn't include the kids who have Netflix and Foxtel there. So I'm going to cover that. And I'm going to look on my table where it says Netflix only. It doesn't really say Netflix only, so you have to look where it says Netflix but no Foxtel. Netflix but no Foxtel means they only have Netflix. So that's 31, and then I write it here. Okay, and I can double check if you're still worried that you haven't done the right thing. You can do 31 plus the 24 that have both. That should give you the total students who have Netflix, which is 55. Yeah, that's what we have here, and that's what we wrote up here. Okay, and then the last one, not the last one, sorry. I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to write the students who just have Foxtel. So in my table, just have Foxtel, no Netflix. Foxtel, that's both. Foxtel but no Netflix is 26. Okay. And there's one more number that goes outside the Venn diagram, and that's the student. And that is for the students who don't belong into either of these circles. So they don't have Netflix or Foxtel, and that's 39. And the last thing I can do is I will double check that if I add up all these numbers, I should get my total of 120. So 31 plus 24 plus 26 plus 39. Just do it on my calculator. 31 120, as you can see here. So I know I've done that correct, and I did this correct. So I already added it up before. And the last question, what does each of the number in the Venn diagram represent, and how would you calculate the probability for each scenario? So we're just going to jump straight to calculating the probability. So if I asked you in an exam, what's the probability of me selecting someone who watches both Netflix and Foxtel? Okay, so P, the probability of that, it's just the notation that I'm writing. Yeah, I know there's a total of 24 students, and if I was to select one of those 24 students, that'd be my probability. The chance, actually no, that's not right, that's not even right. The chance of me choosing someone who watches both Netflix and Foxtel would be 24 over the total students, which is 120. So this guy here is wrong. So 24 over 120, and then I just put in my calculator to double check that it's simplified. So I'll just do 24 120, and it'll give me the simplest form, which is 1/5. Or question could ask probability of students who just watch Netflix only. So what is the probability of selecting a student that watches Netflix only? So Netflix only is just this circle here, the 31, not including this 24. Oops, sorry. So just including, just involving that those 31 students there. So 31 over 120, and pretty sure you cannot simplify that because 31 is a prime number. So that'd be it. Okay, let's make sure you can see that. So the one on the left, we made a mistake, which is fine. Just start again, rub it out, and give it another go.